Hi everyone, exclusive web content now called Profile of a Prostitute. While I was researching this story, I found out that a lot of people who are in the sex industry aren't human trafficked at all. In fact, they come from every socioeconomic classification and sect. For example, you met Vickie on the story that aired just a couple of nights ago in part two of human trafficking. And here's a little bit more about her story in her own words.
I was always being abused, any kind of way that you can think it was happening. And I became very angry and very bitter. I hated everybody and I hated myself.
Now, Vickie got involved with drugs and gangs and prostitution when she was barely even a teenager, when she was growing up in LA. She was in and out of foster homes and, like you heard her say, just kind of needed a place to belong and to get out some of the anger that she had. Well, she had many, many years of struggle with all of that, and eventually she was led to a Christian women's home in San Antonio, where she was actually running from parole in LA.
And it was a process. I'm not going to tell you I changed overnight, because I didn't. And it's still an ongoing process with me today.
I'm happy to tell you that Vickie is now sober for 3 years. She is trying to get in touch with and mend the relationships that she's had with her 3 children. She's happily remarried, and she says that she's doing great. Dr. Whit Walker, who I also spoke with about this story, shares 2 other instances of prostitution in America.
I know the story of a 14-year-old girl born in the United States, and she was living with mom and dad, and mom and dad got a divorce. She's living with her mom's boyfriend rapes her, assaults her. So she goes to live in a halfway house. Well, she doesn't like the halfway house, so she runs away from there. Runs away from the halfway house. She's in a public park at 1 a.m., and a man approaches her. She doesn't talk to him at first, but he's got a hamburger, and she's hungry, so she eats the hamburger. They become friends, just friends. She stays at his place for a while. She's got no place else to go. And then a couple weeks later, he says, we have a hard time paying the bills. This is expensive. You're eating this food. I think you need to earn some money. Well, how's she going to earn money? She starts being a prostitute for him. The case down in Houston, there are 85 girls being held. They came from El Salvador, and they're being held against their wishes, but they broke the law when they came to the United States, and they're prostitutes. Looking at it from their viewpoint, they don't get fed if they don't perform. They don't have a way to escape. They're very likely to be transported back to their country. So for them not to cooperate makes sense. It's a complex issue.
I'd like to reiterate, if you or someone that you know is involved with prostitution or human trafficking and needs a way out, you can always call 911, or you can call the International Human Trafficking Hotline. That number is 1-888-373-7888.